In the 12th century, two children suddenly appeared in a small village in England. They spoke a strange language, wore strange clothes, and had skin that was green. This is the story of the green children of Woolpit. The story of the green children of Woolpit will have different details depending on which writer was telling the story. But the overall story stays largely the same and goes like this. It was during the reign of King Stephen. One day during harvest time, the villagers of a small village called Woolpit would discover two children, a brother and a sister, beside a wolf pit, which is what gave the village its name. To the confusion of the villagers, the children had green skin. They also spoke an unknown language that sounded like gibberish to the villagers, and they had unfamiliar clothing and they acted very nervously. After they were discovered, the children would be taken to the nearby home of Sir Richard the Conn, where he tried offering them food that they would refuse to eat. For the next several days, the children refused all food that was offered. But one day, they came across some beans which they happily devoured. The siblings would survive only on beans for many months until they acquired a taste for bread. In time, they would eat more and more, and their skin would also lose its green color. Over time, they would also learn to speak English, and they explained that they came from an underground land that was called St. Martin's Land, which was a land of constant twilight. The girl and her brother were looking after their father's cattle when they heard a loud noise, which scared them and caused them to run into a cave. Navigating the cave and finally making their way out on the other side, they were startled by bright sunlight. Then they would be found by the villagers of Woolpit. Unfortunately, the boy would succumb to illness, but the young girl did end up surviving. She would be employed for many years as a servant in Richard the Conn's household. Eventually, she would marry a man from King's Lynn, which was about 64 kilometers away from Woolpit. The astronomer and writer Duncan Lunan would conclude from his research into Richard the Conn's family history that this girl was given the name Agnes, and the man she married was a royal official named Richard Barr. The village of Woolpit is located in Suffolk, East Anglia. During the 12th century, the village was an agriculturally productive and densely populated part of rural England. The story of these green-skinned children was recorded in two contemporary chronicles. One by the English chronicler Ralph of Coggeshall in the Chronicon Anglicanum, or the English Chronicle. He actually names Richard the Conn, who took in the children, as his source for the story. The other writer of this story is William of Newburgh in his Historia Rerum Anglicarum. In it, he writes that his account is based on reports from a number of trustworthy sources. As I mentioned in the beginning, the accounts will differ in some details, but the overall story remains the same. But one difference is, depending on which version of the story that you're reading, the events either took place within the reign of King Stephen, as I said in the beginning, or it could also have taken place during the reign of King Henry II. As with any other story like this one, there have been many theories put forward to try and explain the story of the green children of Woolpit. One such theory is that the children were Flemish immigrants. A lot of Flemish immigrants had arrived in England during the 12th century, but they were persecuted under the reign of King Henry II. So the idea is this took place during his reign, and the children were orphans. Lost and confused, the children could have entered one of the many underground mine passages in the area, which would lead them to Woolpit, which explains their story of going into a cave and coming out on the other side in the village. If they were dressed in Flemish clothing and speaking only their native tongue, these children would have seemed very strange to the villagers of Woolpit. One theory regarding their green skin is that they could have been suffering from hypochromic anemia, also known as chlorosis. This condition is caused by a poor diet, which affects the color of the red blood cells, and this results in a green shade of the skin. However, if you start eating a more normal, healthy diet, the skin will return to a more normal shade. This idea is supported somewhat by the fact that the children's skin returned to normal after they started eating a healthier diet. Illnesses that can cause a change in skin tone isn't that unheard of. One example of this is the Fugate family of Kentucky. In around 1820, Martin Fugate and his wife Elizabeth Smith settled near Hazard, Kentucky. They were both carriers of the recessive methemoglobinemia, or METH gene. As a result of this, 4 of their 7 children had blue skin. There were no railroads and few roads outside the region, which left the community very isolated, which meant that the Fugates would marry other Fugate cousins and families who lived nearby. Descendants with this gene would continue to live in the nearby areas well into the 20th century. In fact, the last known descendant to have been born with blue skin was born in 1975. METH is a condition of elevated methemoglobin in the blood. Oxygen is carried through your bloodstream by hemoglobin. And normally, hemoglobin then releases that oxygen to cells throughout the body. Methemoglobin is a form of hemoglobin that cannot carry oxygen. If the body then produces too much methemoglobin, it might start replacing your normal hemoglobin, which leads to not enough oxygen getting to the cells in the body. And this lack of oxygen is what leads to the skin turning a blue color. The family would be treated for the condition which caused their blue skin to fade, and today there are no known blue-skinned Fugates. Another condition that might cause someone's skin to turn blue is argyria, which can be caused by silver buildup in the body over a long time. For instance, if someone takes dietary supplements that contain silver, use eye drops or nose sprays that contain silver, or if they work where silver particles are in the air, this might cause the condition. And this condition can turn your skin, eyes, internal organs, nails, and gums a blue-gray color. And this change in your skin is permanent. Those were the more medical or historical theories for the green children. There are, of course, extraordinary theories regarding these children. I mentioned Duncan Lunan earlier in the video. In a 1996 article published in the magazine Analog, Lunan hypothesized that the children could have been accidentally transported to Woolpit from their extraterrestrial home planet. He suggests that this planet from which the children originally came from may be trapped in a synchronous orbit around its sun, which would present the conditions for life only in a narrow twilight zone between a fiercely hot surface and a frozen dark side. He also theorized that the children's green coloration is a side effect of consuming the genetically modified alien plants which would be eaten by this planet's inhabitants. Lunan actually isn't the first to suggest that the children may not have been from our world or even our planet. In 1621, Robert Burton would suggest in The Anatomy of Melancholy that the children, quote, fell from heaven. And this idea also seems to have been included in Francis Goodwin's fiction The Man on the Moon. Other theories for the children say that they were either travelers of another parallel dimension of time, or that they came from a mysterious underground world, which is what they said they did. The idea that there is a whole other world deep within the Earth is not exactly a new one. This is called the Hollow Earth theory, and this was first suggested by Edmund Halley in the late 17th century, and it has remained a premise for subterranean fiction and folklore since. A famous fictional tale regarding a hollow earth is the 1864 novel Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne. Today, the theory of a hollow earth have been largely dismissed. Fun fact though, there have been new discoveries regarding the core of our planet as recently as 2021. The inner core of the Earth was believed to be a solid ball of compressed iron alloy, which was covered by a liquid outer core. But recent discoveries have showed that the hardness varies from hard to semi-soft to liquid metal. And it was even described as being a completely hidden new world within the Earth. Parallel universes is also a very popular science fiction topic, honestly one of my favorites, and there are lots of stories from people who are said to come from a parallel universe. One famous example of this is the man from Taured. The parallel universe theory is a hypothetical, self-contained plane of existence which is coexistent with one's own. The idea behind the parallel universe theory is that if the universe we live in goes on forever, there are only so many ways that matter can arrange itself. At some point, some arrangements have to be repeated, perhaps with small differences. The combination of all the potential parallel universes is often called a multiverse. And this theory is one of the most controversial theories in science. While some theories might support the idea of parallel universes, it is very much a topic that is constantly debated. Whatever their origins, the Green Children of Woolpit is a story that has been around for nearly 900 years now. The real facts behind this story may never be known, but it has provided inspiration for numerous poems, novels, and plays all around the world. And it is a story that captures the imagination of many, regardless of which theory you might personally believe in.